we've got to be open-minded to things like this because they exist. People live their lives differently in different locations with different cultures. But for those who don't, then it's kind of hard to take it all in. But we cannot be dismissive of things like this. We can't. We just have to kind of see reason with it and let people live their lives as long as they are not destructive towards others. So yeah, welcome everyone to Breakage Barriers. My name is Blessing, aka Lady B. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Go right in and press that red button down there so you can subscribe, and alongside with it the notification bell in order to get notified whenever I upload in the future. Welcome on board. It's a bit difficult for one to take it all in looking at polyandry, because here you are with a woman who has got so many men as her husbands. She must feel like a princess, or even more like a queen, being served by all these men. Her needs will be met. And taking a good look at polyandry, it seems polyandry benefits the women most. So it's more advantageous for the women who are involved in polyandry. But hey, some cultures do permit this, and it does exist, like I have mentioned in my previous videos. I have stated the geographical location where you can find such practices in existence, and an ancient culture that has been practiced for generations and has become a tradition in some countries. But like I stated, this is not a natural practice of the African culture. It's an imported practice to the African culture. What is most prominent in the African culture is usually polygyny, men who indulge in having so many women as wives. So today I'll be going into the advantages of polyandry. The first advantage I'm going to talk about is that polyandry works in an overpopulated country. So in a country whereby there's a struggle with the population, then polyandry is a very good and effective way of controlling and decreasing that population, in that because the woman is the one married to so many men, then the number of times she gets pregnant is limited, because so many men are waiting on her to go through that process. Is going to decrease the amount of children bearing. By so doing, the population is controlled by way of decreasing the population. Then second, it's advantageous for the woman because she's got so many men who are able to work and be able to provide for her. If husband A does not provide a certain basic need for her, then husband B will be able to do that. And if neither of the A or B husband is able to provide her needs, she's got this number of men who are able to provide for her. So there's provision in place for her needs to be met. Third, infertility. Here again we have a woman who struggles to get pregnant. She having this number of men, she'll be able to have access to millions of sperms. So invariably these men stand as sperm donators. So she's got access to numerous chances of fertility trial, just like we have it today, whereby men willingly donate their sperms in exchange for money to sperm banks, and women can easily access these sperms by buying the sperms and able to use it as a fertility procedures for them to have the chances of getting pregnant. Fourth, this one is quite funny. So there are some women who are sexually hype, and so they find it difficult to be sexually satisfied easily, because with some men, they easily ejaculate. There are cases whereby some women complain of this because of the easy ejaculation of men. These women are not sexually satisfied. In this way, polyandry is able to combat that, in that if husband A does not sexually satisfy this woman, oh God, I find it difficult to even complete this sentence. It's not even funny. If husband A is not able to sexually satisfy this woman, then the woman involved in polyandry is able to have access to the numerous men, so thereby she's able to be satisfied sexually. These are the 4 advantages of polyandry that I have come up with. Next are the disadvantages. The first disadvantage is that the health of the woman is at risk. This is what scholars have come up with, that polyandry does affect women's health, in that having to deal with bearing of children and the sexual part of it being available to other numerous men, this affects the woman's health. Taking into consideration that every woman goes through menstrual cycle, and every woman react differently when they have menstrual cycles. Some menstrual cycle can be a hell of a pain, and for other women not as much. So in this way, the woman's health is adversely affected. Point 2, we've got to take into consideration that a woman being sexually involved with numerous men can have the risk of a sexually transmitted disease. Point 3, when it comes to the children, this affects the children greatly. As opposed to polygyny, you have the woman who has children for one man. Thereby, when these children are born, the children know who their father is and they know who their mother is. But in the case of polyandry, the children can only be 100% sure who their mother is, but they cannot be 100% sure of who their biological father is. Why? Because she's got access to all these numerous men. So that can be a detrimental effect on the life of those children. Just as we take into consideration as well the sperm bank. In the present dispensation, we have women who have issues with infertility, and they have access to go into the sperm bank, buy sperms. In this case, is similar. The detrimental effect of the child is similar to that of a polyandrous marriage, because most of these children, when they are born, they end up not knowing who their biological fathers are. As some scholars have found, every human being have the desire of needing to know who their biological parents are. It's just a common desire and expectation of every human being. We have this need to know who we are, where we come from, what makes us who we are. So it kind of completes us, and when we don't know who our parents are, then it makes that human feel incomplete and unfulfilled in life. We have seen cases whereby children who don't have access to the other parent go in search of the parent that they've never had access to. Fourth, it is also found that polyandry increases barrenness amongst women. Fifth, because of the competitiveness of being the husbands of one woman, just like we have in polygyny, the men who are involved in polyandry have to deal with competitiveness amongst themselves, whereby one might be more favorable to the woman than the other. This can create a toxic relationship in such practice. Then sixth, it is also found that polyandry increases the chances of divorce. When these men who are involved in polyandry become unsatisfied, either sexually or probably negative effect of polyandry affects them mentally and emotionally, then these men might tend to leave such marriages. And of course, looking at men generally, their disposition contains some sort of ego. Men are just built that way. When such men involving in polyandry cannot handle how it affects their ego, then they tend to walk away, thereby creating an increase in the level of divorce. These are the disadvantages and advantages of polyandry spelled out in the most simplest way. Thank you very much for watching. I'll get to see you in the next video. I do not know what that's going to be yet, but watch out. I'm sure it's going to be another interesting topic as it relates to African ancient practices. Take care now. Bye.